global happenings today. We communicate, we analyze global news. Stay tuned.
Hello, great people. Welcome back to our channel. Bola Ahmed Tinubu's visit to Benue yesterday has been highly castigated. And Peter Obi, who had promised to be a strong opposition, is also out to castigate Bola Ahmed Tinubu over his disposition, as it has to do with that tragedy that took place in Benue State. Now, as at yesterday, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu defied everything and was there. But if you notice, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was dressed in a sky blue Agbada. And when he had stakeholder meetings with the people, he talked to them and all of that. Peter Obi have decided to drag him out, pointing to some of the things he had done, which clearly shows that he is not even touched with the pains of the people of Benue State. Let's dive into full details and see what the 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi said. And he has criticized the manner of reception organized for the visit of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to Benue State over the recent massacre in the state. Peter Obi said that instead of a solemn event to mourn the victims of the violence which resulted in the death of several Nigerians, the president arrived not in mourning clothes but in celebratory Agbada attire, like it was an occasion for joy. The former Anambra State governor lamented that the Wednesday visit failed to reflect the spirit of deep national mourning and lack compassion for the families affected by the massacre in Benue and the flooding in Niger State. In his words, and I quote, he said, "We pleaded that the president should show leadership and visit Benue and Niger states in the spirit of deep national mourning to offer compassion and solidarity to families torn apart by the senseless massacre of over 200 innocent Nigerians in Benue State and flooding that took out several numbers in Niger State." But what we saw in Benue visit was, instead of a solemn reflective visit, a display that would have been more befitting for the commissioning of reconstructed Enugu-Makurdi Highway, a critical road connecting south and northern Nigeria, which has become impassable for years. The president arrived not in mourning clothes, but in celebratory Agbada attire, like it was an occasion for joy. The Labour Party chieftain further criticized the Benue State government for declaring a public holiday and lining up school children in the rain to dance and sing for Mr. President. According to him, such an action lacked compassion and empathy, adding that condolence visits have now been turned into carnivals and campaign rallies. According to him, he says, even more heartbreaking is the rule of the state. Rather than being in mourning mood and weeping, declared a public holiday, not for reflection or prayer, but to organize fanfare. Schools were shut down. Children who would be mourning their slaughtered classmates and parents were instead lined up under the rain, rehearsed to sing and dance for the president. In what kind of country does this happen? We have tragically arrived at a point where condolence visits have become carnivals. A time that should be marked by silence and solemnity is now polluted by banners, music, and rehearsed spectacles. Precious Nigerians' lives have been lost, yet we are clapping, singing, and organized procession as though this were a campaign rally. This is not how any compassionate nation behaves. The energy, resources, and logistics poured into these chariots could have gone into food supplies, temporary shelter, medical aid, school support, and trauma counseling for grieving families. Instead, we choose optics over empathy. The former governor compared what happened in Benue to the reaction to similar happenings in some other parts of the country and call for an end to impunity in Nigeria. Obi said turning such bad and sad incident into mourning or festival while the nation bleeds and victims demand justice is not only insensitive but also dangerous. According to him, he says, look elsewhere. When President Ramaphosa visited Mata after the flood in South Africa, there were no drums, no stage crowd, no rented chairs, just presence, silence, and action. When Prime Minister Modi went to the site of a crash, No one lined up to welcome him. He came, he mourned, he acted. That is what leadership looks like in moments of pains. We must ask ourselves, what kind of people have we become? Enough of this culture of impunity. We are not at war, yet our nation is bleeding and we are clapping. It is not only insensitive, it is dangerous. Let us not forget, these were human beings, children, mothers, fathers, whose blood cries out for justice. When very sad incidents like this turn to campaign or festival, our nation losing its soul. A new Nigeria is possible. P.O. That was his write-up to President Bola Tinubu and his government. And then, now guess what? Peter Obi lines up behind some other Nigerians who have come out openly. The likes of Randy Peter was there. We also saw one other comedian. I mean, Nigerians were so grieved and angry the way the whole thing went. The president even confirmed, he said Nigeria don't love him, all of that. I don't think Nigeria don't love him as a person. It's the actions that you are taking that is making Nigerians not to be pleased with it. And I feel that the president should have a rethink. I mean, sometimes try to be human enough for you to consider, these things. Because when you always paint things from the perspective of, politics, this kind of things will always be for you. My colleagues in the house, what's your opinion about the standpoint of Peter Obi in respect to the visit of the president? Don't forget that the president went there with his Agbada. It was expected that everybody would appear with black clothes just to show how much buying your head with so much fear in your eyes and being fierce at those who call themselves security operatives. But it wasn't the case. What's the standpoint on this?
Let's start with what Hyacinth, the governor, did. He first of all started the temple by carrying placards, carrying billboards, thanking Mr. President for a courtesy visit in a carnival-like manner. Lined up secondary school students to wait for him. I like the fact that Nigerians did not spare him. They told him exactly, somebody said, are we celebrating or are we mourning? Now, in the spirit of that celebration of carnival, of quote and unquote, the presidency killed him. Because if you were in mourning, you should be carrying things, casket-like things. Even people should be mourning black and black. In fact, if they don't even welcome you so much at the entrance of Benue, it's because the state is in mourning. Mm-hmm. So the presidency should understand that the country is in mourning. If Pope can even, commiserate and, share our grief,
before the president,
then our president will now come and be doing carnival. As in, are we celebrating the death or are we mourning the death? Now, I must comment Peter Obi. He's now acting up like the opposition that he is. In fact, not just opposition, but the main opposition that he is.
All right. There is something I want to ask before you continue. There's something that played out during the visit of Mr. President, and it was the situation whereby when the President asked a question, the IGP was up. He now asked the IGP, no arrest, that by now they should be around. People started clapping. This psychophancy, do you think it's now an industry in Nigeria? Because it's shocking.
Yes, it's a way of encouraging the president in case, in between the line, he misses one or two words. They just use that clapping so that he can regain his composure. And it's like it's a department now in this APC dispensation where psychophancy and hypocrisy treason, they're paid specially. Somebody said something on social media one of these days. I had a hearty laugh. He said that in Delta State there are some people who are well paid. They are hype men. They just go there, their work is to hype the governor. Hype. Hey!
People's father.
That department is well paid, though. They pay well. Nigeria don't have work. What's your work by duty? I'm a hype man. Jesus. In this country, you can see everything is possible in Nigeria. Just imagine it.
Now, interesting, there was one I saw. I didn't really understand it at first. So when they said that the special assistant to the governor suspended the chief of staff and some other persons. And I was like, whoa, special assistant have the power to suspend chief of staff? How? Because we know that when you look at both chief of staff to the governor, it's bigger than any other person that have been appointed by the governor. Only to get full view of it that actually it is the it is the chief of staff of the senior assistant, special assistant to the governor that was suspended. And I was, what is this? So special assistant as chief of staff.
They line up that Nigeria. We have this country. It will be great, exactly. Whether they like it or yes. That makes it more dramatic. But personally speaking, I want to say kudos to Peter Obi for standing tall. He should not relent. No shakings. Nigerians are solidly behind you. Keep dragging them. That's what democracy is all about. Don't keep quiet. In fact, it is that dragging that made him leave what he was doing in Nyendeba. Now he went to Benue. If not for the way Peter Obi, VDM, dragged everything out of there, he would have still stayed back in Abuja and saying they are commissioning bus stop. Call it bus terminus. Bus stop. That's what you are inaugurating. Very funny. How can you be commissioning bus stop? Normal bus stop that they used to. Do you understand? Normal bus stop that if you go to Isaleko, there's bus stop. Oshodi, there's bus stop. And you can't reach Abuja. Oh, weekends involved, it became bus terminus.
And you notice that they did not reveal the cost of that bus stop.